If there's been one consistent theme that we've had in the games industry over the last couple of years, it is an overwhelming disappointment for community managers that work at these game companies. So today I want to talk a little bit about what community managers are supposed to do and why we see so many big game companies put people in those roles that are wildly inappropriate and end up alienating their customer base. So start out, I'm Ojiro. I've been a game developer for a bit over 15 years. Um, when I started out in the industry, I it was like 2008 financial crisis. It was a lovely job market. One of the first jobs I was able to get was making um, games on Facebook with Flash. It was wild times. But in Flash, we had a lot of really excellent community managers because it was a social game. You were on Facebook. It was very easy to communicate with your users. So when I see things over on the more traditional game side, the games that people actually would consider games, I see people like this individual that is over at Compulsion Games as a community manager that is working on a game coming out called South of Midnight. And this is just a more modern example. I'm sure anyone that's followed any kind of games news can point to community managers making or saying stupid things. I remember a lot of brouhaha coming from the community managers over on the Helldivers 2 team last year, especially when the PlayStation like pushed the whole make a PSN account thing. Later, it was them saying they'd ban anyone that thought furries were gross on their Discord. So let's get straight into it. I want to talk about first off, for the community managers, what are they supposed to do? So ideally, your community manager acts as a buffer between your developers and your fans to get information, distill it, and then send it to the developers. Some places they don't care about feedback from the public for whatever reason, which is stupid, but it is what it is. Your community managers can also do things like if players say they're having some kind of issue, their community manager can say, "Hey, try this, try that." If you're having some kind of bug, they can point to a URL to go to. So using this very high tech Canva thing that I have built in all of like 2 minutes, let's go over. Uh, let's talk about the best case scenario for your community service or customer service people. So first off, they work directly with your developers because you get an immediate feedback from your community on what you need to do to your game. Now, we do see some people that are actual developers that'll go into places like Discord or Twitter and then try and solicit feedback and make improvements on the game. But, a lot of people, whenever you go onto social media, you're going to have people that are miserable human beings that talk to you, and you need to be able to shut them out. And there's a lot of people that are they don't have the social skills in games. So as soon as you come at them with some kind of like scathing feedback, there's a lot of people that just shut down. So they don't even try to get that feedback. So your customer service folks, your community managers, sorry, it shouldn't be customer service. It should be community manager. Oh, I ruined it. It's fine. Dude. Oh, that's the wrong screen. There we go. So your community managers. So, what's going to happen with these folks is they're going to be explicitly tasked with dealing with a lot of that vitriol that you're going to get in a public space like Twitter or Discord, and distill that down to actual useful stuff for the team. Now, when I started out, my first like real job in the Bay Area, I was sitting right next to our community manager for the whole company. And then they would tell me what kind of things our users liked. When we did our daily stand-ups, we had a community manager and they would say, this is what the community wants. This is what they're saying is a problem. And then we would use that feedback to make the game better for our players. Because the thing with making games is you should always be making a better experience and like looking at the people that are actually playing the game and say, how do I make it better for you, the player? And if it's a genre that I also enjoy, then I can be like, oh, well, what would I like? Because, this is the kind of, I am the target audience for this kind of game. Now, Facebook era, super easy because everyone's on Facebook, right? So we see a shift over time where Facebook is dying, mobile games is taking off, and then mobile games, you've got half that are dealing with the kind of stuff that traditional games have, which I'll talk about after this. And then you have games that still try to do some kind of moderation on Facebook in particular. If any of you have ever played like a game on your phone and it's like, hey, do you want to like log into Facebook? All of that was there so that we could protect accounts, so that when you uninstalled the game, you didn't lose your everything that you had worked on. It was like the only third-party authentication system that was easy to put in, because your alternatives, they just weren't there yet. Now you log into some mobile games and they're like, do you want to log in with Apple? Do you want to log in with Google? Um, Early on, Facebook was your only option. So because it was the only option, a lot of mobile games would still have a community manager handling the Facebook group, and everyone had logged in, that generally the players that kept playing the game, because most people uninstalled the app pretty quick, like no matter what the genre is, because downloading it's free. But there was still that avenue there. Over time, what we have seen is a lot of companies exclude community managers to be on the side where, like, basically completely like devoid of developer contact. So they're right alongside human resources, finance, or executive staff. And this is how a lot of traditional games treated it, because for most traditional games, maybe they'd have a forum, and then you'd have your community managers handle the forum. Some developers would look at the forum, but forums can be really toxic, because you have a lot of passionate people in there. Uh, Over time, we've also seen with more and more people using Twitter becoming like a really great avenue for people to reach out to users. We've also seen Discord become the gold standard for people, and you can just, make a group, like make a new channel on Discord and invite people to it. So it's easy for a developer to just have these things. However, your community managers in a lot of these places are still completely detached from the developers. They are there just to base tank what people say, and not really give any feedback to the team. So, because for a lot of these games, by the time they make it to where you see any kind of footage from the game, it's basically almost done, and there's no time for change. Ideally, your game developers would have like focus groups for some of the bigger projects to see, oh, does this actually resonate with our target audience, so that they can address any kind of issues before it goes to this point where you're advertising it to the mass market. But so many games don't do that. Look at Concord. Like, that was a catastrophic failure, and like nobody wanted that game. It's the biggest example I can think of, but it's not the only. We've had a lot of failed games where you look at it and you think, who is this for? Especially given that a lot of these games have a budget of like 50 to 150 million dollars to develop. Now, one huge issue with putting your community managers outside of your developers is they're not married to the project. The developers of pretty much every game, they want their game to succeed, even though there's a lot of mentally ill and delusional people in games right now, which is a totally different issue. However, anytime I've ever seen like a community manager say something stupid in a company I've worked at, I've been super pissed off at that community manager. I've been like, what the hell are you thinking? It's usually they make some kind of flippant political comment, pisses off a bunch of people, and it's like, dude, don't do that. We're a games company. Keep your politics out of it, even if you're saying it as a joke, because there's a lot of people that won't take the joke. Just don't say it. It's not hard. When you put your community managers out like this, it makes it so that like the developers are completely detached, and it's just like, oh, I need to fill this role, and it's just like, oh, whatever. It's just like human resources or finance or like the executive folks that they hire. They don't matter, right? Because we still get to develop the game. But these community managers here have a tremendous impact on the communities that they talk to. It is very easy for a community manager to go out and then go on some Twitter rant that is seen across the entirety of the internet, where you've got channels like Asmongold reacting to them, where they're like, what the hell's wrong with this person? This game's probably garbage because, pattern recognition. If you have like a person that's saying like really stupid stuff here, there's probably a lot of really other stupid stuff that you're not, that we don't see right now, but is actually there. It's immensely damaging. So when you have folks like Katie here saying that she hates gamers and she makes racist comments against Asian and white people, saying they're white adjacent, and then saying, "Oh yay, I'm the new community manager for Compulsion Games." This is a garbage person to be working at any games company. This person, as far as I'm concerned, is unhireable. Like you cannot bring these people in that hate your community and put them into a position where they have the ability to talk to all of your customers. It's one thing if you have some kind of absolute moron on your team where they're just like, some random programmer or some random artist. As long as they stay off of Twitter, it's fine. But the full-time job of this Katie person is to run their accounts and spread goodwill about their game. And if this individual is out there, like I've seen that they've been banning people like Smash JT because, I got this from Smash JT here. Um, this is terrible. This is crazy enough. Facebook games and mobile games would not generally make this mistake. That doesn't say that they do, because you've got a lot of stupidity coming into the mobile space where you've got a lot of my biggest example is like Pokemon Go, where they were like genders are offensive, but like that company was based in San Francisco, and San Francisco glorifies mental illness. Um, you walk around the streets there, and it's all people defecating everywhere, needles on the ground. It's an awful place to be. As someone that's worked there, I can say, do not glorify mental illness, um, because it pisses people off. So, yeah, community managers, a very important role. I say this a lot to some people where I'm just like, look, this is a very low paid position. A lot of people are just like, no, it's not whoops, it's not a big deal. Whatever. But it is a big deal because they talk to everybody. So when you have these morons that are getting into these positions, they are looking for these positions because they want to control a narrative. They want to have power, but they shouldn't. Like, these people should not be in these positions. If you hate a consumer of something, not only should you not work at the place that makes that thing, but you shouldn't be the spokesperson for that place. Because what you've got now is you've got a game coming out. I think it's later this year. That's my guess. They've been showing more footage for it and everything. And a lot of people, and this is not even including the Sweet Baby Inc. stuff that this is involved with, but you've got your community manager that's saying that they hate white people and Asian people, which is a tremendously large demographic in the United States, which is a massive market for games. This is terrible. So even if someone doesn't know about Sweet Baby Inc., if they're seeing that their community managers they've hired, they've put in these privileged positions, that they hate them, the gamer, the consumer, you're not going to want to support that studio. It is a huge unforced error on their part. You will talk about this game later in the future. This is like one of the Sweet Baby darlings where they race swap the main character. I hear that they also fired the original voice actor, where because while they were black, they didn't sound blacks, and they were like, that's unacceptable. Like, I need to verify all that. I'm willing to believe it just because Sweet Baby's involved, and that places a cancer on the industry. But that's all I want to talk about today, just like community managers and why they're important, why these places need to care more, why they need to worry about their hiring process, because it's so important. I will add, One more thing. My last job that I worked at when I started, I was in site reliability. However, that was kind of a catch-all for like build and release engineering, a lot of supporting of live ops. A lot of tools got built for verification of configuration files. And I didn't sit next to the team. I sat next to our community managers and various hosts for whales. Because if there was any kind of issue that impacted the community, we didn't have like they didn't put a lot of effort before I came in things like alerting. We didn't have PagerDuty set up yet. It was very much we had to either check logs manually on certain like whatever logging system we had. It was like Splunk. Later, it was like Grafana, but we had other things like logs.io at some point, which doesn't mean anything to most of you, and that's fine. But you had to manually go in and say, is there a problem? And you're not spending your day doing that. You're spending your day doing work that you've planned to do. So community managers would come to me and say, hey, we think we have an issue. Or our hosts that dealt with our whales would say, hey, I got a problem. Can you look at this and see if this is an actual problem? And then I would go to the team and say, guys, I need you to stop working on, the next content release, and I need this kind of issue resolved immediately. Community managers are super important for live service kind of stuff. They're still important for regular games as well, because you're spreading that goodwill, you're getting the word of your game out there. But a lot of games are moving into the live service space. A lot of games have failed in the live service space. But having good community managers to build that goodwill, get feedback from people, and also say when there's the kind of issue, very important. Like I cannot understate it enough how important that is. But given how a lot of game companies have been behaving and the kind of people they've been hiring at the same time, I would think that it's probably in the best interest of a lot of these game companies to just not have a community manager. Because if the only people, like if you're going to try and fill your company with a bunch of weird ideology, you should not have a public facing anything. Like you should have one person with the account to Twitter where you put out a tweet like, once a month. But it's very high risk as soon as you start hiring people that are not there on merit, people that are not there to care about the product, people that don't care about the end user, the gamer. It's just bad. But I've rambled for too long. Thanks for dropping by. And I will see y'all again in a future video. Farewell.